I heard him laughing. Not the polite laugh he gave at dinners. Not the tired laugh he gave me. This one was soft, warm, alive. I stood halfway down the stairs, frozen. "I miss you too," he whispered into his phone. My chest tightened. My fingers gripped the railing so hard they hurt. He was in our kitchen, our home, speaking to someone else like that. "I'll transfer it tomorrow." "Same account," he said. "Transfer." I stopped breathing. Then he said something that broke me. "She has no idea." Silence filled my ears. My heart pounded so loud I thought he would hear it. I stepped back slowly, my legs weak. I didn't confront him. I didn't cry out. I went back upstairs. Quietly. That night, I lay next to him as he slept. I stared at the ceiling. Everything felt fake. Every "I love you." Every late meeting. Every excuse. I wanted to scream. To shake him awake. But I didn't. Because something inside me shifted. If he thought I had no idea, then I would make sure he kept believing that. I closed my eyes. Not to sleep, but to plan. If he was transferring money, where was it going? The next morning, I made breakfast like nothing had changed. He kissed my forehead. "Big meeting today," he said. I smiled. "Good luck." Lie. I watched him leave. Then I waited. 10 minutes. Then I opened his office drawer. Locked. Of course. My hands shook, but I didn't stop. I checked his desk, his bag, his jacket. Nothing. Then I remembered something small. A spare key he once hid, inside an old book. I flipped through it. There it was. My heart raced as I unlocked the drawer. Inside, neat files, envelopes, a second phone. A second phone. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I turned it on. Password. Of course. But the notifications lit up the screen for just a second. A name appeared. Not saved as a name. Just a letter. K. And below it, "Last night was perfect." My stomach dropped. I took a photo of the screen with my phone. Then I placed everything back exactly as it was. When he came home that night, I asked him about his meeting. He smiled. Confident. "It went great." I nodded. I didn't argue. That was the first lie I let pass. And it wouldn't be the last. If he had a second phone, how many more secrets was he hiding? I stopped asking questions. Instead, I started noticing everything. The way he angled his phone away from me. The way he stepped outside to take calls. The way his mood changed depending on the time of day. It became a pattern. Every Tuesday and Thursday, late meetings. Every Friday, client dinners. And always, the same quiet smile afterward. I began writing it all down. Dates. Times. Excuses. At first, it felt wrong. Like I was spying. But then I remembered his voice. "She has no idea." That gave me strength. One afternoon, I followed him. My hands trembled on the wheel as I stayed 3 cars behind. He didn't go to the office. He parked near a small cafe. Then I saw her. She walked up to him like she belonged there. Like she belonged with him. He hugged her. Not like a friend. Not like a coworker. Like someone who knew him. I felt something inside me break. But I didn't cry. Not yet. I took pictures. Every second. Every touch. Every smile. Then I drove home. And for the first time, I didn't feel weak. I felt something else. Something cold. Something focused. Because now I knew. This wasn't a mistake. This was a life he had built without me. But who was she? And why did he look so comfortable with her? I needed to know who she was. Not just a face. A name. A story. A reason. I zoomed in on the photos I took. There, her bag. A logo. I searched it online. A boutique consulting firm. Small. Private. I spent hours scrolling through their staff photos. And then I saw her. Same smile. Same eyes. Her name was listed under Operations Manager. My chest tightened. Operations. That meant access. To accounts. To records. To money. I went cold. That word echoed in my head. Transfer. I went back to the photos. He wasn't just meeting her. He was trusting her. That wasn't just an affair. That was something deeper. That night, I asked him casually, "Do you work with consultants now?" He paused. Just for a second. Then he smiled. Sometimes. Lie. I nodded like I believed him. Inside, my mind was racing. If she handled operations, and he was transferring money, then this wasn't just betrayal. This was planning. And I had a feeling. I wasn't part of that plan. What exactly were they planning? And where did I fit into it? I checked our bank accounts that night. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Bills paid. Savings untouched. But something felt off. He said transfer. So where was it? I went deeper. Old statements. Archived files. And then I saw it. A small transfer. Months ago. Labeled as consulting fee. I didn't remember approving that. I checked the next month. Another one. Then another. Small amounts. Careful amounts. Enough to not raise alarms. But together. It added up. A lot. My hands went cold. He wasn't just cheating. He was moving money. Our money. Without telling me. I took screenshots of everything. Saved copies. Backed them up. For the first time, I realized something terrifying. He wasn't planning to stay. He was preparing to leave. And he was making sure I would have nothing. I sat there in the dark, staring at the screen. Hurt turned into something sharper. Clearer. If he was planning behind my back, then I needed to be smarter than him. Not louder. Not emotional. Smarter. Because now, this wasn't just about love. This was about survival. How much had he already taken? And how far was he willing to go? The next day, I changed something. Not outside. Inside. I stopped being his wife. At least, the version he knew. I still cooked. Still smiled. Still listened. But I stopped trusting him. I stopped sharing my thoughts. I stopped being open. Instead, I watched. He didn't notice. That hurt more than anything. One night, he said, "You've been quiet lately." I smiled. Just tired. Lie. The same way he lied to me. And he accepted it easily. That told me everything. He wasn't paying attention. That gave me an advantage. I started organizing everything. Photos. Bank records. Notes. Every detail. Every lie. Every transfer. I created folders. Backups. Hidden copies. If he thought he was careful, he hadn't met careful yet. But then something happened that shook me. A message popped up on our shared tablet. He forgot to log out. It was from Kay. "Did you tell her yet?" My heart stopped. "Tell me what?" I stared at the screen, waiting. Another message came. "You said soon." Soon. I felt the ground shift under me. Whatever he was planning, it was getting closer. What was he about to tell me? And why did it feel like the end? That night, I watched him carefully. He seemed distracted. Nervous. Like he was thinking through something. Rehearsing. I knew that look. I had seen it before. Right before big decisions. Right before big lies. During dinner, he barely touched his food. "You okay?" I asked. He nodded too quickly. "Yeah. Just work stuff." Lie. Later, I stood outside his office door. He was on the phone again. "I'll handle it," he said. Pause. "No, she won't fight it." My chest tightened. "Won't fight what?" "She's not like that," he added. Something inside me snapped. Not like that. He thought I was weak. Predictable. Easy. I stepped away before he could see me. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From anger. Cold, steady anger. If he was planning something, he was underestimating me. And that was his biggest mistake. Because I had already seen enough to know. This wasn't just about leaving. This was about control. And he thought he had it. But he didn't. Not anymore. If he believed I wouldn't fight, what exactly was he planning to take from me? The next morning, I made a decision. I needed help. Quiet help. I searched for a lawyer. Not flashy. Not loud. Someone precise. Someone who understood strategy. I found one. I didn't tell anyone. Not friends. Not family. Just me. And the truth. When I sat in that office, my hands felt cold. But my voice was steady. I think my husband is hiding money, I said. And planning to leave me with nothing. The lawyer didn't react. That told me this wasn't rare. We'll need proof, they said. I nodded. I have some. I handed over copies. Photos. Transactions. Messages. They looked through everything slowly. Carefully. Then they looked at me. You're right to be concerned. My stomach dropped. That made it real. This wasn't in my head. This was happening. They leaned forward. If you want to protect yourself, you need to act before he does. Act. Not react. That word stayed with me. Because for the first time, I wasn't just defending myself. I was preparing. And I wasn't going to lose. But what they said next changed everything I thought I knew. I thought it was just hidden transfers. I was wrong. The lawyer pointed to one document. This account, they said. It's not new. I frowned. What do you mean? They turned the screen toward me. It went back years. Before the consulting fees. Before the late nights. Before everything. He's been moving money for a long time, they said. My heart dropped. How long? They met my eyes. Long enough to plan this carefully. I felt sick. This wasn't sudden. This wasn't a mistake. This was a strategy. A long one. Every moment I thought we were building a life. He was preparing an exit. Quietly. Slowly. Without me. I sat there, unable to speak. The lawyer continued. If we act correctly, we can stop him. Stop him. That word gave me something. Control. Because for the first time since I heard his voice in the kitchen, I didn't feel powerless. I felt aware. And awareness is dangerous. Especially to someone who thinks they're in control. I took a deep breath. Tell me what to do, I said. Because I was done reacting. Now. I was going to play the long game. But to win, I had to let him believe I was still blind. Nothing changed. At least, not on the outside. I still laughed at his jokes. Still asked about his day. Still sat across from him like everything was normal. And he believed it. That was the easiest part. Because he wanted to believe it. One night, he reached for my hand. Things have been good lately, he said. I smiled. Yeah, they have. Lie. Inside, I was documenting everything. New transfers. New messages. New patterns. The lawyer guided me step by step. Don't confront him, they said. Let him continue. So I did. And he got bolder. More careless. More confident. That's what happens when someone thinks they've already won. They stop hiding as well. And that's when they make mistakes. One evening, he left his second phone unlocked. Just for a minute. But that was enough. I saw messages. Plans. Dates. And one line that made my blood run cold. Once the papers are signed, she's out. Out. Just like that. No discussion. No warning. Just, removed. I locked the phone and stepped back. My heart was racing. But my face stayed calm. Because now I knew something important. He wasn't just planning to leave. He was planning to erase me. But I was already steps ahead, and he had no idea. Every day, the evidence grew. And so did my strength. I stopped doubting myself. Stopped questioning what I saw. Because the truth was clear now. He wasn't confused. He wasn't struggling. He was choosing this. Over and over again. I tracked every transaction. Every message. Every meeting. And the pattern became undeniable. Money moved right before he saw her. Large amounts. Not just small ones anymore. He was speeding up. That meant something. He was getting ready. Soon. That word echoed again. Soon. I met with the lawyer again. They're accelerating, I said. They nodded. Then we need to move faster too. My stomach tightened. This was becoming real. Very real. Are you ready? They asked. I hesitated. Not because I was unsure, but because I knew what it meant. Once I started this, there was no going back. I thought about the kitchen. His voice. Her name. She has no idea. I looked up. I'm ready. Because I wasn't that woman anymore. Not the one he thought he knew. Not the one he planned to leave behind. I was something else now. Something he didn't see coming. And the next step would change the balance of power completely. The lawyer filed something quietly. He didn't know. That was the point. Timing matters, they told me. And right now, we have the advantage. Advantage. I held on to that word. For so long, I felt behind. Now, for the first time, I was ahead. The filing didn't confront him. It didn't alert him. But it secured something important. Protection. Of assets. Of rights. Of truth. That night, he came home smiling. Relaxed. Confident. How was your day? He asked. I met his eyes. Productive. For the first time. That wasn't a lie. Because while he was planning my end, I had already begun his. And he didn't even know it. Not yet. But soon. He would. And when he did, it would already be too late. Because the next mistake he made would expose everything. It happened on a normal day. That's how big mistakes always happen. When people feel safe. Untouchable. He left in a rush that morning. Forgot his laptop. I noticed it sitting on the table. For a moment, I hesitated. Then I opened it. No password. My heart started pounding. He never forgot that. Never. Which meant one thing. He was getting careless. Inside, I found folders. Emails. Documents. Then I saw it. A file with both our names. My breath caught. I opened it. And everything changed. It wasn't just financial plans. It was legal. Drafts. Agreements. Prepared statements. He wasn't just planning to leave me. He was building a case against me. False claims. Twisted stories. Designed to make me look unstable. Irresponsible. Unfit. I felt the air leave my lungs. This wasn't betrayal anymore. This was war. And he had already taken the first shot. I copied everything. Every file. Every page. Then I closed the laptop. Placed it exactly where it was. My hands were steady now. Because the truth was clear. He didn't just want to leave me with nothing. He wanted to destroy me. But he forgot one thing. I saw it first. And now, I had everything I needed to destroy his plan instead. After I saw those files, something inside me went quiet. Not calm. Not peaceful. Just still. Fear used to control me. Every look, every word, every lie, it used to shake me. But now I understood something clearly. He wasn't just lying. He was building a version of me that didn't exist. A version he could defeat. That's why the documents were so detailed. So careful. So false. I sat there for a long time after closing his laptop. Not crying. Not shaking. Thinking. If he was willing to go this far, then I couldn't afford to hesitate anymore. That night, he came home like nothing had happened. "Missed my laptop today," he said, laughing. I smiled. "You're getting forgetful." He shrugged. Careless. That word stayed in my mind. Careless people make mistakes. And mistakes leave openings. I met with my lawyer the next day. I showed them everything. Every file. Every lie. They didn't look surprised. But they did look serious. "This changes things," they said. "How?" I asked. They leaned forward. "Now we don't just defend. We counter." Counter. That word gave me strength. Because for the first time, I wasn't reacting to his moves. I was about to make my own. And this time, he wouldn't see it coming. But to win, I had to let him believe his plan was still working. The next few days, he became kinder. It confused me at first. More attentive. More present. He brought me flowers. Asked about my day. Cooked dinner. For a moment, it almost felt real. But I knew better. Because I had seen the files. This wasn't love. This was preparation. He was building a story. A narrative. One where he was the caring husband. And I was the problem. I started noticing the details. He mentioned things like, "You've been stressed lately." Or, "Maybe you should take a break from work." Small comments. But they added up. He was laying a foundation. Quietly. Carefully. That's when I realized something chilling. He wasn't just planning to leave. He was planning to look innocent when he did. That's why he needed those documents. That's why he was acting this way. I wrote everything down. Every word. Every change. Every pattern. Because now, I could see his strategy clearly. And once you understand someone's strategy, you can break it. That night, he looked at me and said, "We're good, right?" I smiled. Of course. Lie. But this time, it wasn't weakness. It was control. Because the better he played his role, the stronger my case became. A week later, something unexpected happened. A letter arrived. Not addressed to me. To him. Marked confidential. I held it in my hands for a long moment. My heart beating fast. Then I opened it. Inside. Legal correspondence. From a financial advisor. But it wasn't about investments. It was about restructuring assets. Moving them offshore. My breath caught. This was bigger than I thought. Much bigger. He wasn't just hiding money. He was trying to make it untouchable. Invisible. Gone. I took photos. Copies. Everything. Then I placed it back carefully. When he came home, he didn't mention it. Of course he didn't. Because he thought I didn't know. But now I understood something critical. He wasn't just planning a clean exit. He was planning to disappear financially. To leave me with nothing. Legally. That's when the fear returned for a second. Because this wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was calculated. Cold. But then I remembered something. I wasn't alone anymore. I had proof. And I had a plan. But the next move would decide who really had control over everything. My lawyer moved quickly after that. Faster than I expected. "We can't wait anymore," they said. "He's trying to move everything out of reach." That made it urgent. Real. So we acted. Quietly. Legally. Carefully. Restrictions were placed. Monitoring began. Without him knowing. That was the key. He still believed he was ahead. That gave us power. I went home that evening and watched him closely. He seemed relaxed. Confident. Like someone who had everything under control. He even smiled more. Laughed more. It almost made me angry. But I didn't show it. Instead, I played my role. Perfectly. Because the trap wasn't about catching him quickly. It was about letting him walk into it fully. Completely. That night, he checked his phone and frowned. Just for a second. A flicker of confusion. Then it disappeared. But I saw it. Something had shifted. Small. But enough. I looked away before he could notice. Because that moment told me everything. The process had started. And he had no idea. And when he finally realized, it would already be too late to fix. The change was slow at first. Small cracks. Little signs. He became impatient. Short. Easily annoyed. Work is stressful, he said. I nodded. But I knew better. Something wasn't going the way he planned. And it was starting to show. One night, he snapped at me over nothing. Then apologized quickly. Too quickly. That wasn't guilt. That was fear. I could see it now. The confidence he once had was fading. And that meant one thing. The pressure was building. I stayed calm. Supportive. Understanding. Because that's what he expected. That's what he needed me to be. For his story. For his version of events. But inside, I was watching him fall apart. Piece by piece. And the more he tried to hold it together, the more obvious it became. He wasn't in control anymore. He just didn't know it yet. Because the next discovery would push him into making a desperate mistake. It happened faster than I expected. One morning, he left early. No explanation. No meeting. Just gone. I checked the accounts. Nothing new. But something felt wrong. Later that day, my lawyer called. He tried to move a large amount, they said. My heart jumped. But it didn't go through. Relief hit me hard. Followed by something else. Understanding. He was panicking. That was the first big mistake. Because desperate people stop thinking clearly. They rush. They slip. They expose themselves. That evening, he came home late. Quiet. Distracted. He barely spoke during dinner. Then suddenly, he looked at me. Have you noticed anything strange with the accounts? He asked. I kept my face neutral. No. Why? He hesitated. Then shook his head. Nothing. Lie. But this time, I could hear the uncertainty in it. And that told me everything. He knew something was wrong. He just didn't know what. And that uncertainty was breaking him. Because the more he searched for answers, the deeper he walked into the trap. The next few days were tense. He watched me more closely, asked more questions. Small ones. Casual ones. But I could feel it. He was trying to figure something out. Have you talked to anyone lately? He asked one night. I smiled. Like who? He shrugged. I don't know. Just asking. I nodded. But inside, I knew. He was looking for a leak. A mistake. Something that would explain why his plan wasn't working. But there was nothing for him to find. Because I had done everything right. Carefully. Quietly. Legally. And that's what made it powerful. Because he couldn't accuse me. He couldn't confront me. Not without exposing himself. And he knew that. So instead, he started losing control. The man who once thought he had everything planned was now guessing, doubting, uncertain. And that shift changed everything. Because now, the power wasn't his anymore. It was mine. And soon, he would be forced to face the truth in a way he couldn't escape. He finally made his move. I think we need to talk, he said. I sat across from him. Calm. Ready. This isn't working anymore, he continued. There it was. The line he had been preparing. Rehearsing. Perfecting. I think we should separate. I nodded slowly. Like it hurt. Like I didn't see it coming. But inside, I was steady. Okay, I said softly. He blinked. Surprised. That wasn't the reaction he expected. You agree? He asked. I looked down. I don't want to fight. That was what he wanted to hear. What he needed to hear. Because it confirmed his story. His version. His control. But what he didn't understand was that this wasn't his ending. Not anymore. Because while he thought he was starting the process, I had already finished it. And the next step would reveal just how wrong he was. The legal process began. Official. Structured. Real. He walked into it confidently. Prepared. Certain. But then, things started going differently. Documents were presented. Evidence. Records. Proof. His expression changed. Slowly. From confidence. To confusion. Then to something else. Fear. He looked at me. Really looked at me. For the first time in months. Like he didn't recognize me. And in a way, he was right. Because I wasn't the same person anymore. I didn't speak much. I didn't need to. The truth was speaking for me. And it was loud. Clear. Unavoidable. He tried to respond. To explain. To adjust. But it was too late. Because everything he planned, everything he built, was now working against him. And what came next would destroy the last piece of control he thought he had. This was the moment. The one that changed everything. The one he never saw coming. My lawyer presented the final evidence. The hidden accounts. The offshore plans. The false documents. All connected. All proven. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was intent. It showed planning. Deception. Manipulation. Not a mistake. Not confusion. A strategy. And that changes everything legally. I watched his face as he realized it. Slowly. Painfully. The truth hit him. He didn't just lose control. He lost credibility. And once that's gone, everything else follows. He looked at me again. Desperate. But I didn't look away. Because this time, he knew. I knew everything. And the final decision would take away everything he tried to protect. The outcome was clear. Assets were reviewed. Reassigned. Protected. What he tried to hide was exposed. What he tried to take was stopped. And what he tried to control was taken away. Piece by piece. Calmly. Legally. Finally. He sat there in silence. No arguments left. No strategy left. No control left. Because the system he tried to use worked against him. And I didn't have to fight loudly. Or desperately. I just had to be ready. And I was. When it was over, he didn't say anything. He couldn't. Because there was nothing left to say. The story he built had collapsed. And the truth had replaced it. But the real ending wasn't about what he lost. It was about what I gained. Life didn't change overnight. But it changed enough. Peace came first. Then clarity. Then strength. I wasn't just free from him. I was free from everything he tried to make me believe about myself. Weak. Unaware. Replaceable. I wasn't any of those things. I never was. He just needed me to be. Because that's how his plan worked. But plans built on lies don't last. And people who underestimate others eventually pay for it. I rebuilt my life slowly. Carefully. But this time, it was mine. Completely. And the best part. I didn't need revenge to feel powerful. I needed truth. And I got it.